Thanks for joining us on the newspaper review this beautiful morning on the Nigerian Uprise TV. My name is Chiwande Osisiago. Again, today we'll be analyzing different headlines for different newspapers for the 3rd of August 2023. On the Punch newspaper this morning, subsidy protests. Banks, offices shut amid rallies. Labour demands 200,000 naira wage. NLC, TUC leaders hold emergency NEC today after special meeting with Tinubu National Assembly. FG sues Labour leaders, says protests will be suspended. How protesters broke National Assembly gates. You can find the stories on page 2 and 7 of the Punch newspaper. Nigerian court power supply. ECOWAS vows to confront Junta. The story is on page 11 of the Punch newspaper. FG delists 18 illegal loan apps. The story is on page 19 of the Punch newspaper. Ondo oil producing area indigents protest unpaid bursary. The story is on 11 of the Punch newspaper. PDP inaugurates campaign cancels for Bayelsa, Imo, Kogi polls. You can find our story on page 8 of the Punch newspaper. Lagos probes doctor's death in hospital elevator. Colleagues shun work. You can find the story on page 4 and 5 of the Punch newspaper. Community protests demolition. 6 Sanwo-Olu intervention. You can find the story on page 4 and 5 of the Punch newspaper. Oyetola, Lalong, Bagudu, 16 others make second ministerial lists. This story is on page 7 of the Punch newspaper. For many more information, you can get it on the Punch newspaper this beautiful morning. And on this day newspaper, with Tinubu's promise of PH refinery ready by December, Labour suspends protests, extends dialogue. FG to negotiate new salary award. Senate intervenes, promises resolution. Labour threatens to occupy court over contempt charge. Federal government must cut down cost of governance, says TUC. Weavers workers to presidents. Allow us to breathe, fix refineries. You can find the stories on page 8 of this day newspaper. We don't have control over fuel price, dollar, says CBN. You can find the story on page 10 of this day newspaper. British government reiterates support for ECOWAS moves to reinstate Niger presidents. The story is on page 8 of this day newspaper. Nigeria's military on alert. Court power supply to Niger as ECOWAS continues dialogue. Tinubu throws country into darkness. Court power supply. Commissioner says failing to act may diminish regional bloc. Dismisses threats from Mali, Burkina Faso, Guinea-Bissau. Hit on standby force to protest democracy in West Africa. This story can be found on page 8 of this day newspaper. And on Business Day newspaper, Niger's nightmare threatens democracy in West Africa. ECOWAS vows to reinstate ousted presidents. You can find the story on page 2 of Business Day newspaper. Textiles mills under strain as gas to power costs double. The story is on page 29 of Business Day newspaper. Niger claims electricity from Nigeria caught after coup. You can find the story on page 31 of Business Day newspaper. C-Hub co-founder 18 others make Tinubu's second ministerial list. The story is on page 30 of Business Day newspaper. And lastly, Labour meets Tinubu, says fresh commitments extracted from FG to hold further consultations on protests. You You can find the story on page 30 of the Business Day newspaper for today. And that's the much we'll take today on the Nigerian Uprise TV. My name is Chewando Osisiago. Do well to follow us on all our social media handles on Facebook and on YouTube at the Nigerian Uprise TV. Do have a lovely day and thank you for watching.